Good evening, everyone. I hope that you had an amazing Tuesday. I know we did. Got lots of stuff done and went to the chiropractor, so feeling much better now. We have been doing a series on fats this week, and we talked about yesterday why we need them and what the difference is between healthy fats and unhealthy fats. And one of those unhealthy fats that I talked about yesterday were trans fats, okay? And so I wanted to talk about those a little bit more today and why we needed to be a little bit wary of hydrogenated oils such as margarine as well as other trans fats, okay? So just to do a little bit of a recap, okay? There are three main types of fats, okay? We have saturated fats, and those are typically solid at room temperature, and they come from animal fats, such as, like your bacon and your lard, or your tropical oils, such as like coconut oil or palm oil or even cacao, okay? So those are our saturated fats, solid at room temperature. Keep in mind on those, you want about less than 10% of your daily caloric intake to come from saturated fats. Generally, they're healthy, but we still want to limit their intake, okay? The other two that are generally considered healthy are your monounsaturated and your polyunsaturated fats, okay? Those are liquid, typically at room temperature, liquid or soft, okay? They come from olive oil, avocado oil, peanuts, tree nuts, flax seeds, fish oils, seed oils, all those things, okay? But then there's that really dangerous other type of fats, okay? It's called trans fats, okay? Now, there are some naturally occurring trans fats that are generally better than the artificial ones, okay? They occur naturally in things like milk, cheese, in beef, lamb, chicken, and pork, okay? Milk and cheese has the highest content of trans fats, okay? 3 to 7% of their fat content is from trans fats. Beef and lamb is about 3 to 10%, and then chicken pork is about 0 to 2% of the fat content, okay, is trans fats. All right. Now, where it gets dangerous is where we have an industrially processed trans fat, okay? This occurs through a process called hydrogenation, okay? Hydrogenation takes an unsaturated fat, okay? So those are our monounsaturated or our polyunsaturated, and they're usually liquid, okay? So it takes those soft or liquid at room temperature fats, and then they bubble in hydrogen ions into it. What this does is it makes that liquid fat into a solid fat, okay? This helps it to be solid, and so now you have your spreadable margarines, okay? But it also helps it create a longer shelf life, okay? The whole reason behind this process was to help have more shelf-stable products, okay? And then we really like spreadable butter, okay? So it helps with that. This really helps with the grocery store not having to throw things away as often because it lasts longer. So it really helps those companies make more money because they have a shelf-stable product. However, even though it helps them to make more money, it doesn't help our body in any way, shape, or form, okay? So the reason is that trans fats, okay, these artificially produced fats, they do not kink or fold in upon themselves like your naturally occurring fats do, okay? We want this because when those fats build up in our cell membranes, if they kink and fold in upon themselves, our cell membranes are malleable, okay? But if they don't, then they pack into our cell membranes super tight, okay? And then we have really rigid cell membranes. Lots of dangers can come with that, okay? But the big one is now your nutrients cannot be processed the way that they're supposed to be processed. And now the fats in your body are no longer able to process the way they were supposed to be processed, okay? So it completely changes the way that your body processes fats, okay? So we want to be very wary of these because of what it does to our cell membranes and just our overall body processes, okay? Other things that eating a lot of trans fats can do to our bodies is it can lower our HDL. Okay, it can suppress excretion of bile acids. It can increase our own cholesterol production. Okay, so our bodies produce their own cholesterol, but it'll increase that cholesterol production and actually raise your cholesterol. So if you already have high cholesterol, trans fats are the thing that you really want to avoid. Okay, they also can compete with essential fats for transport into cells. So what that means is now those good fats, the omega-3s that you need, they are now competing with the trans fats, and the trans fats always win. Okay, so now you're not getting nutrients that you need because of these. Okay, they can also create and worsen essential fatty acid deficiencies. So because of that competition, you know, we already have, as Americans, an out of sync ratio of omega-3s and omega-6s. Typically, you're supposed to have a 3-to-1 ratio. You want more omega-3s than you want omega-6s. But because of all these trans fats in our processed foods, we have a ratio of 20-to-1. We have 20 times the amount of omega-6s as we do omega-3s in our diets, okay? So now when we add in trans fats, that worsens it because they're competing in our cells, and the trans fats will win, okay? So over time, all of this means that it'll add up to a higher risk of many chronic diseases, okay? Which is the source of a lot of our chronic diseases today. Okay, even one meal, just one meal. So if you've never had trans fats in your life and you have one meal that contains a lot of trans fats, that can diminish your blood vessel function and elasticity, meaning many problems later. Okay, now the thing that is my really big pet peeve with this is back in 2015, so we're talking 6 years ago. 6 years ago, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration concluded that artificial trans fats were generally recognized as unsafe. Okay, so they are very aware that these are unsafe and they do not need to be in our diets whatsoever. They decided back in 2015 that these trans fats needed to be phased out of processed food production. Okay, this has not started yet, or maybe it's started, but it hasn't gotten very far because all of our trans fats are still in our processed foods. And on top of that, if a product has less than 0.5 grams of trans fats per 14 gram serving, all right, they don't have to report it on the nutrition label. I investigated this. I went and I looked at all the chips that have trans fats in them because of the seed oils that they contain. They should report that they have trans fats. They report 0 grams because of that law that if it's below 0.5 grams per 14 gram serving, they do not have to report it on the nutrition label. Okay, so check the ingredients because generally, the nutrition label is very informative, but when it comes to trans fats, they are not going to report it because they can make the serving size small enough to where it hits that less than 0.5 grams and they don't have to report it. Okay, so definitely watch the ingredients and we'll go over what exactly contains trans fats here in a second. Okay, now we definitely want to watch things like margarine, okay, and especially the healthy margarines, okay. We have taken plant oils that are supposed to be liquids and we've labeled them as healthy, but they're trans fats, okay? Any margarine, I don't care if it's made from plants. There's one I loved to buy, absolutely loved to buy it, and it was all vegan, all plant oils, very healthy. All right, no, I've learned about hydrogenated oils now, okay? What they did is they took those healthy plant oils, they pushed those hydrogen ions through it, and now they've taken an unsaturated fat, made it into a saturated fat, and even worse, a trans fat, okay? If it's naturally supposed to be liquid and it is solid, it is no longer healthy for you. So all of my cat is playing with my pen. Hang on, stop it. All of our olive oil was a big thing. So in mayonnaise and margarine and all those things, they started labeling them, ooh, it's made from olive oil. Okay, yes, olive oil is great for you when it's cold pressed. However, when it's been hydrogenated, it is just as bad as anything else, okay? It's actually worse because now we have an artificial trans fat. So check your margarine. If it's made from oils that are supposed to be liquid, but now they're in a solid form, it's nothing but trans fats at this point, okay? So that is a main thing that we definitely want to look at, okay? Margarine is a huge one. However, our processed foods, like I said, are filled with trans fats. These come from the shelf-stable oils that are used on them, okay? So like corn oil, canola oil, soybean oil, vegetable oil. All those now contain a whole bunch of trans fats. So they're on our processed foods. But as long as they keep the serving size to where it's 0.5 grams per 14 gram serving, they do not have to report it on the nutritional label. So we have to be very, very careful of those. All right. So processed foods, margarine, and shelf-stable oils, most of them are things you want to avoid. Okay. Another example. So the World Health Organization says that we're supposed to consume intake less than 1% of our daily intake needs to be trans fats. Okay, less than 1%. You can get down to 0, that you're winning, okay? But they're suggesting less than 1%. However, this is all it takes to get 20 grams of trans fats. There's Alice. She says hi. She, of course, had to be in the video again. All right, so 20 grams of trans fats, all right? Less than 1% is still dangerous, but this is 20 grams of trans fats. A day that has 2 microwavable waffles, all right? Or any other processed food, okay? But 2 microwavable waffles, all right? 1 order of French fries, okay? Small order. It's because of the oil that's on it, all right? 1 small bag, so the little mini bags, 1 small bag of chips, all right? Because of the oils again. And then 1 tablespoon of margarine. That is 20 grams of trans fat, all right? Typically, we consume probably more than that on a daily basis with processed foods and margarine and everything else, okay? So that little bit of amount is already 20 grams of trans fats, all right? We're already seeing a lot more rigid cells, blood vessels, and everything else with that, okay? So be very wary of those trans fats and hydrogenated oils. Now, we have other alternatives, all right, that are definitely good for us, okay? Extra virgin olive oil that is cold pressed, all right? This is a great alternative, all right? If you're cooking at higher heat, avocado oil is a wonderful alternative. Those are both monounsaturated fats. Very, very good for you in reasonable amounts, okay? But we want to be wary of margarine, the processed cheese, corn oil, cottonseed oil, sunflower oil, canola oil, sunflower oil, safflower oil, and vegetable oil, all right? All of those contains very high amount of trans fats due to the industrial processing that helps it have a longer shelf life, okay? Yes, it's great. It is always wonderful to have longer shelf life foods. It's helped in many ways, but unfortunately it does not help our bodies in any way, shape, or form. So definitely want to watch out for those. Speaking of cheese and processed cheese, our next video is going to be all about cheese and how we can make healthier choices when it comes to cheese, because if you're like me, you absolutely love it. All right, so we're going to talk about that tomorrow in our video, so make sure you check that out. If you need any help with your nutrition, with any questions you have on fats, carbs, proteins, any of that, please reach out to myself or my husband Samuel. We'll be glad to help you out. All right, guys, you have an amazing evening. We will talk to you tomorrow all about cheese. Bye.